So, I'm back again for another collection video. Technical mishaps meant I am doing this a day later than I wanted to. But what you gonna do about that? You know, you can't always help things when they go wrong. So, hopefully this video will be much better than the last one. The one that you're not gonna be able to see, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, move on. This is part 2 of the Xbox 360 collection, and I'm going to be going over quite a few games from the C and Ds. And the thing is, a lot of these games I've forgotten about. The first time, there's a couple of Bs in there even. I'd forgotten about them the first time. They either weren't in the pile or they're just further on down the list. So you're going to see more of those. So first off, I guess we'll talk about the 2 Batman games. They do have Batman Arkham Asylum Game of the Year Edition, and it is apparently in 3D, and it comes with extra challenge maps that the original did. And the thing about Arkham Asylum is it's not a game I probably would have played otherwise if there wasn't a demo, because Batman games up until Arkham Asylum just tended to suck. At least the 3D ones did. And so this one came out. It's a total reboot of the series. You know, it's got excellent voice acting, and it's Batman being the predator that we all know he kind of can be at times, even though he doesn't kill people. So it really did take the Batman series to the next level with Arkham Asylum. I haven't really checked out any of the extra Game of the Year edition content, but the core game is still great, so that's all that really matters. Got a really crazy good deal on this too. So Batman Arkham City, got this on launch. It's also 3D, if you didn't know. And one of those games that, it kind of does feel kind of like sequelitis, like change for change's sake. Like, I don't think many people really complained about Arkham Asylum's layout with its whole linear style, where you just kind of went from level to level, enemy to enemy, taking them out as you go. Whereas Arkham City is open world, you kind of get to choose where you want to go, whatever, and whatnot, and that seems to be kind of a trend in video games. If the player can have a choice, let's give them a choice. And I normally don't have too much problem with that, but it did kind of bug me in Arkham City that it didn't feel as focused as Arkham Asylum did, but I still really enjoyed it. I think it'd be hard not to. It was still a great game, so that's all there is to say about that. Moving on, Battlefield 3, which is a game I should not have liked or really even given a chance after hating the beta as much as I did. I really couldn't stand the beta. I thought it was honestly one of the worst shooters of its kind of this generation. But then a friend kept convincing me and taunting me to get the full game and whatnot, and I was like, okay, fine. Get the full game, it better not suck or eat your head. And I got it, and surprisingly enough, it doesn't suck. It's a completely different game than the beta to me. It's a lot of fun in multiplayer, and especially in some of the newer maps. The close quarters maps are especially fun to me. And the vehicle controls are actually working well, and that's not even something I got to even try in the beta, so that's good. And I haven't even touched any of the single player co-op, and I already feel like it was completely worth it just because of the multiplayer. Sometimes that's a game, that's the whole reason to get a game is for the multiplayer. I mean, a lot of people seem to have a mentality where if a game only has a single player, they're fine with it. And if they only ever touch the single player, well, it's okay. But some games, it's like, well, if you only touch the multiplayer, it's okay. So that's kind of Battlefield 3 to me. And really should be the same way we all think about Call of Duty by now. because this is Call of Duty MW3 or Modern Warfare 3, depending on which place you read. It's Modern Warfare 2.5, really. I mean, I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh man, Call of Duty never changes, but it really doesn't, and I really can't blame them with how much it sells. But it also is, it's also sort of refined a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say that it didn't change at all. It's kind of different and a bit more fun. I never played Black Ops, so I don't know what is new from Black Ops that from Modern Warfare 2, what changed there, I don't know. But I do know that Modern Warfare 3 is still pretty fun to play, despite it being, you know, Call of Duty. I don't know what to say. It's kind of one of those games you'll just never... I'll never quite understand why they're so popular, but I'll certainly respect it for being so, I guess. Moving on is Dead Island, a game that I'm still not incredibly hot on, despite constantly going back to it. I got it right around when it came out last year, and never quite caught on with me. I played a couple of hours of it when it first came out, and then fairly recently I played another maybe couple of hours of it, and it's still just sort of one of those games that's not terribly fun to me. It's just sort of boring to me. I mean, I don't know what to say. It kind of just, I just kind of hit a wall with it where it's just not fun. I don't know. The graphical style kind of gets on my nerves too. Kind of hurts my eyes to look at it after a while just because of how much bloom there is on screen. But am I disappointed in the game? Yeah. It's nothing like its introduction trailer, but it's not necessarily a terrible game either. This was a game that was missing from the first video, and that's Assassin's Creed. I've had Assassin's Creed since launch, and it's one of those games where I didn't really appreciate it until like a year or two after it came out. When I first played it, I was extremely frustrated with the game because I didn't really understand where to go half the time, because it really doesn't hold your hand for some of that stuff. It kind of just expects you to know what to do. And normally that's a big turn-off for a game for me, but it kind of grew on me, this game. I don't know, I just kind of feel like a badass when I play it. And none of the other Assassin's Creed really captured that. Ezio is a lot more weak than Altair to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Altair was sort of a bit more roughneck than Ezio. But excuse me. And you know, but it's still the introduction to the series. It's the introduction to the Aspergo stuff and the Amanus and his name, Desmond Miles, and how, you know, things started to unfold there. They're not really fleshed out in this game. I don't really think they knew what they were going with half of the stuff when they made the first game, but I think that's kind of how it goes. You kind of have to play it by ear and see how things work, and if things don't work in the first game, then why continue on with the second game, and so on, you know? So, whatever. Moving on, we have The Club, and I'm not too fond on the game. I remember playing the demo, and I think I had more fun with the demo. You know, it's one of those types of games. And it's not really, I just don't really think it's that great. It has some online stuff, but I've never played it, and it's just not that great. Then we have Conan, Condemned II, Bloodshot, which I guess goes along with Condemned Criminal Origins, where it has a price tag on it. Condemned Criminal Origins is a game, I'll go through this one first. I played on launch of the 360 and really enjoyed how it presented itself with its different kind of style of murder mystery type stuff. It wasn't just go around collect clues or whatnot. The clues were kind of secondary, and you were just kind of unfolding things as you go with sort of a shooter melee combat type game. it was fun for its time. I don't know what to say. It was sort of not great, but it was also very different for its time, and I remember really enjoying it when it first came out. Condemned 2 went off the deep end with the Condemned series for me. Ethan Thomas became a totally different character that you really weren't sympathetic with anymore. In the first game, you were kind of sympathetic with Ethan, but then all of a sudden, in Condemned 2, he's kind of a jerk off. But still kind of fun. It had a lot of creepy moments, a lot of shock moments for horror and whatnot. And the games don't really do that for me anymore. And so it was nice to see one do that for once in a while. It added multiplayer that I don't think anybody ever cared about. I know I certainly didn't. And then we already talked about that game. What am I doing? Get it together. Okay, Crackdown. It's an open world game that is sort of derivative from GTA, but it also went off on its own path that hadn't really been explored yet in these types of games. And that was more the path of what would you do if you had more agility and were able to go around and jump off of buildings and do all sorts of crazy things. Sort of a precursor to like Just Cause 2 to me is Crackdown. And Crackdown is one of those games that I'll never really forget just because of how much fun it was for its time. I can't deny how much fun it was to just jump around a city, shooting people as you go, shooting rockets at things and blowing stuff up. It never really gets old. Plus it had online co-op, which helped. But yeah, it was a blast. And for some reason, Crackdown 2, I have not really played yet. It seems to be a lot of like the first game, and I think that's what intimidates me about it, is because it's so much like the first game that I'm just scared that it won't live up or something. I don't know. I'm not normally like that with games, but it's just sort of one of those that did that for me. Crysis 2, I hadn't really played the first much, but Crysis 2 kind of brought me into the series, if you will, just because I was able to finish it. I really liked the setting in that you were in a destroyed New York City, going around, killing different types of aliens and things like that. I quite enjoyed it, and I remember playing it on hard for the first time. First time through a game, I don't really do that. I normally like to play through on normal, and then we'll see from there. And normally I just leave it at that. But this one, I started on hard, and it wasn't that hard to me. It wasn't impossible, and I just found it to be a great experience. It was intense at times, and just a whole lot of fun. The multiplayer, I played quite a bit of it, and it never really clicked with me. Just wasn't all that hot on it. I don't know what to say. Just seemed like I was never any good at it, and that can really severely impact how you think about a multiplayer game. Then we have Damnation. It's not good. I don't really know how else to put it. It's a steampunk third-person shooter that shouldn't exist. Then we have Dance Central, which, just looking at me, you can already tell I'm a horrible dancer, but this game confirms it. I'm a horrible dancer. So, there you go. Even on easy, I'm pretty bad at it, so don't know what else to tell you. Then we have DDR and DDR Universe, or DDR Universe and DDR Universe 2. You dance on a mat. Arrows fly across the screen. I know that's simplifying it a little too much, but give me a break. Okay, Dantes Inferno. I already talked about this on PS3, so don't really need to go through there. Watch the PS3 video if you want to hear me not talk about Dantes Inferno. Okay, The Darkness. This is a game that should be a lot better than it is. I don't really get it. Its main problem that I had with it is that it was just too repetitive, and it just kept dragging on and on and on. You know, it's just one of those games that it just feels like it never ends, despite you just keep moving on and on with it. It just never ends. It just keeps going. So I never really liked the game all that much. I just wanted to finish it, you know, just goddamn, let me finish the damn game, you know, and it just never went through with it. We have Dark Sector, which I played the multiplayer of for about 5 minutes. I know that makes no sense, but it's not great. Then we have Darksiders, which I just finished a couple of days ago, and I found it to be a lot more fun as you went along. It's one of those games that's just sort of, you don't really know what's going on until you get hours and hours in. And normally that's enough for me to drop it, but there's just something about this game, and probably the fact that the sequel's coming out like tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're watching this video, that, I don't know, it just lured me to it. I just kept coming back to it and plugging away at it, and eventually I finished it, and I thought it was pretty rewarding to finish the game. And I mean, it's very derivative of God of War and Zelda, but nothing was wrong with those games, really. So they managed to put them together and put out a pretty decent game, if you ask me. Deadly Premonition is one of those cult classic games, which I hate saying, but it kind of is. Seemed to get a following for some reason. I never really got it because the game kind of sucks. I guess I can kind of see its appeal in that it's really campy, and its music is just completely off the wall, and that's kind of appealing, I guess. But it's still not really that great of a game to play. Is the unfortunate part. Moving on, I'm going to talk about a couple of games in a group here because it only makes sense. And that's Dead Rising. First off, it's one of those games that was one of the first big releases for the 360. Not huge, but you know, it was anticipated, at least, because it's one of the first big zombie games for the system. So I can understand the hype. And unfortunately, it didn't really live up to the hype for most people, including me. I never really liked the save system. I didn't really like the concept of having to go collect, you know, or go, you know, get a whole bunch of people and then bring them back to a safe house. It was okay, but it wasn't that great. And it was compounded by a horrible save system that the game is notorious for, and it's just a big mess. And it never really translated to a fun game to me. I mean, it was fun once in a while to smash zombies with stuff, but once that wears off, you realize just how shallow the game is and just how fun it's not. And the boss fights that happen just make the game that much worse, and starting to make my blood boil just thinking about it. Moving on, in the same series with Dead Rising 2, which really didn't fix all the problems that were in the first game, so I'm completely shocked by that. The save system still sucks, and you still have to go out and get a whole bunch of survivors. And, you know, going out and getting survivors really wouldn't be that bad. And I think the setting in 2 is much better than the first. Wouldn't be that bad if the save system didn't suck. If every time I died, I didn't have to go way back and, you know, hours back just because I didn't save, because the save system's so inconvenient. Well, we have actually a good game in the series, Dead Rising 2 Off the Record, which brings back Frank West from the first game. And the thing is, Frank West is kind of a badass, but his game is actually good. Like the second game, Off the Record's good. You're still in the same setting from the second game, so that's good. You do have to go rescue people, but it's helped this time by the good save system. When you die in this game, you checkpoint maybe 2-3 minutes back instead of an hour. So you're only losing minutes of progress at a time instead of hours, which is constantly what happened to me in Dead Rising and Dead Rising 2. And it has great online features, a great online sandbox mode. So I think Dead Rising 2 Off the Record is a pretty good game in that respect, and it kind of makes Dead Rising fun. Imagine that. You make some good choices in game design, and the technical advancements, and you're able to make a good game. Shocking. Dead Blob 2. Really a game that my girlfriend wanted. She really liked the first The Blob, so she would like the second game, and I think she really liked it. I don't think she ever finished it, but she did like it at the time, and I don't know. I don't know if I'll really ever play it, but it's kind of one of those games that, I don't know, maybe a rainy day. Probably not. Disney Universe, also a game that my girlfriend wanted more, and I played it with her, and it's just like the Lego games. If you played Lego Star Wars or Lego Batman or Indiana Jones, any of those, it plays just like those. The gameplay is very, very similar, and you know, it's fun for a while, but it kind of gets old because it's so repetitive, and you're just hitting stuff. I don't know. It can be fun, and I played it co-op with my girlfriend, and it's not bad. It's just sort of, eh. 2 more games. Dead Space. Okay, all right. Dead Space. It's a game that I respect, but I don't like. I just find it to be a little bit too boring for me, and not really that fun to play. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the severing and whatnot. I don't know. Oddly enough, to me, the third game looks more appealing, but what do you want me to say? I'm not a fan of the series, so maybe a change up in the series will finally get me to like it. Because the second game looks more just to be a lot more of the first, although I've heard it's worse from people who like the first game, so I don't know, maybe I'd like the second game more, who knows. And then lastly, Battlefield Bad Company 2 Ultimate Edition, which I have not played much of, but we got a crazy good deal on this that we couldn't really pass up. We still have an unused Battlefield 1943 code in here, which is worth more than what we paid for this version, so we kind of got a little loophole out of, so whatever. But it's a good game, and unfortunately got it about the same time as Battlefield 3, so it was kind of a, well, we already had Battlefield 3, so I'm just going to play that instead. Anyway, that's it for this stack of games. I'm going to stop talking about them right now, but I'm going to be back for part 3 soon. So look out for it. Hopefully there will be no technical wazoos this time, and I'll have the video up days before I actually can have it up. So that's it. We'll see you next time.